Hello, Liz. How are you today?
Hi, honey. Hello.
I'm so glad to be sitting here with you because you are Miss Energy, I have to say. People say I have energy, but I think you go far beyond the energy level. It's like
Yes.
the meter goes. "Burp, burp, burp."
Yeah, I think they broke the meter when I was born.
Exactly. And thank God that you were born for that.
Thanks.
So,
Oh my
anyways, I wanted to welcome you to the Opportunity Knocks podcast. I'm so happy to be joined with Liz Svatek.
God.
Did I say it right?
Liz Svatek.
Swatic. Geez, I just practiced and I got it
It's
wrong.
hard. It's a hard name.
I'm
Whatever.
human. I'm human.
I'm Liz. I'm like Liz Taylor. Just call me Liz.
Oh, yeah. You're sexy enough to be Liz Taylor. I'll tell you that. Anyways, Liz is amazing. I was recently introduced to her. I've been following her on Instagram because the gram is the gram, right? But I was following her on Instagram, but I was introduced to her by a mutual friend, Katie Shin. And what is amazing about Liz is that she also is a podcast host. And she launched a podcast during COVID, as we all did, called Conversations with Warrior Women. So, who couldn't be drawn in by that name? I'm so happy to have you here today. So, let's just real quickly recap what Opportunity Knocks is about. Opportunity Knocks is just about that, opportunities, how women take, make, create, and evaluate them. And we started during COVID because we wanted to give women hope that there were opportunities out there. So I interview amazing female entrepreneurs like Liz on their journey. So I would love for you to take people through your journey and how you ended up as a podcast host. Because as we discussed before we even got on this, guys, she's got a slew of history of a lot of different other things she's done.
Yes. Oh my gosh. If there's a job, I've had it. If there's any job. I've waited tables. I was a coat check girl. I had a marketing agency. I did social media before people knew what Twitter was.
Oh my God.
I was an actor, a stand-up comedian, an improv girl.
You'd be
I
so
have
good at
managed a
that.
restaurant. I mean, really, just name something. I've done it. The reason I started this podcast, well, first of all, like you, people were saying to me, Liz, you should start a podcast.
Yes.
And I was like 48, 49 years old. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And
Wow,
I was like,
I find that hard to believe.
I
It's
didn't
like such
know.
a
I had
natural fit.
I heard of it, but I was like, how do you listen to one? Where is it? I mean, I was afraid to even say, because I'm usually really up on a lot of things. So it's really kind of funny. I didn't know what it was. I was the first person on Clubhouse, by the way, last person on
Exactly.
earth to know what a podcast is.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I figured it out, obviously. And then, but I still wasn't going to do it, but they kept saying, oh, well, you love to talk and you love women. You should just do a podcast. I was like, oh, well, I don't know. And then I did an event for the Warrior Moms, my community, the Warrior Moms. And there was this woman there and she was on a panel and she was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. I really don't even know what it is, but I'm going to do it. And I was like, oh, she just said she's going to start a podcast and she doesn't even know what it is. What? Why can't I do that? I can do that.
Beat me to it.
No, that's not right. And then I met this woman at this event Becky Harrington, and all she does is marketing and launching podcasts.
Wow,
So
that's
it was just kind of the craziest serendipity of all time. And I said, you know what? Email me January 1st of 2020. And I'm going to click that button. We're going to do this. She emailed me on January 1st because I met her in September or November. And she was like, here I am. And I was like, oh, damn. I thought she would like forget.
Holding you accountable. I love that.
I mean, I was like, oh my God. So I did it. And then of course we moved it up because once COVID hit, I was going to maybe launch Mother's Day, kind of do a whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I thought, you know what? I got to move it up. Women are just struggling right now. And I need to provide some inspiration and really for myself too, frankly.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody was kind of missing that, right? But
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name? Like, how did Warrior, I mean, okay, we talked about this before we got on the call too. It's like Conversations with Warrior Women would be too long for Instagram. But I always think of you as Warrior Women Podcast.
Well, yes, but that's because that's what it is on Instagram, Warrior Women Pod. But
exactly.
But I will say I was going to call it Drinking in the Driveway.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. That's
and then I got in trouble because if you name it something like that, they automatically label it kind of racy. And so you kind of miss a bunch of your audience.
I could hear
so
that.
I thought, and you know what? It's not that I'm looking to be racy necessarily. It was more that I wanted people to know this was going to be real. I'm going to talk to women about real real life
Mhm.
and their ups and their downs and everything. And that there's going to be some humor to it. That's really what I
Absolutely.
wanted, people to know. But I already had the warrior moms community, and I kind of thought, you know what? I really want to talk to all women. It's not about being a mom, really. Like
Mhm.
I want to talk to women, young, old, black, white, brown. I want to talk to all women and learn
Exactly.
about their experience and what they've been through and how they struggled and how they survived. So that's really kind of how it kind of came to be.
Like, what piques your curiosity about wanting to know more about a woman? Like, how do you go about drawing it out? Because I know this is one of your gifts. Like, how do you go about drawing it out in people? Like, does your brain ever stop ticking?
No, and you know what? When I'm doing the podcast and someone gives me a gold nugget, I literally am writing. I'm like so excited because I know that is a quote I'm going to use. I'm like so excited. You know what? I'm really interested in people who are very different from me. Let me
Mm,
just start there. If I know someone is an immigrant or they have a business I could never do, or
mhm.
just someone a different color, a different age, just anything different from me. I'm just fascinated because that's not my story. I grew up with my story. I can't even wait to hear what their story is. And I
Mhm.
know in the telling of that story, there's somebody listening who's struggling with something or can't get past something or thinks something really horrible about themselves. And they're going to hear this woman and they're going to be like, boom, I can do that. Or you know what? I'm not going to think that anymore or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I get them on the podcast, the first thing I always say is, I am here to make you look good. This is not a kind of like salacious dive into
Yeah, for
some
sure.
horribleness.
Yeah.
This is all a glow up. Like this is just one 45-minute glow up. Let's enjoy our lives. And we can mess up and we can be silly and we can do things, but we also can laugh and cry and all the things. So I ask the kind of questions like I like to deep dive. I like to say, what were you like when you were younger? Were there any clues to when you were younger that maybe have now shown up in your adult life? What are the failures that, or
Yes.
do you consider the failures that you've been through? What is your greatest lessons? Like all
Mhm.
through those questions, they reveal this great wisdom. And some people, they come on and they don't really know how wise they are until we start talking. And then they start drawing all these kind of similarities and like these kind of through lines. And then it's kind of a fascinating ride.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you consider yourself like a bit of a wisdom teller, like a storyteller?
Oh yeah. I'm
Yeah.
definitely a storyteller. I feel like I can recognize the gold when women give it to me, and then I'm inspired to give the gold too, right? Like that's the ideal podcast for me. When one woman is saying these genius things and I'm coming up with this genius and we're just going back and forth and we're sharing ideas,
Like the best, isn't it?
that's dreamy to
It's
me.
like it's a brainstorm essentially, but
Yes.
like when two brains actually connect so well together, there's
Yes.
nothing more magical, right? I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
So, what would you say? I mean, you've had such an eclectic, amazing background, and like you said, you have had so many different kinds of jobs. There was a job, and I'd name it. You've had it. What do you think has prepared you for this stage of life? Like, basically launching this podcast. I know you have other goals, but what specifically has prepared you for this stage of life?
I mean, doing the podcast or just the stage of life in
I
general?
think I think the podcast and this part of life in general.
You know what? I think I had a little rude awakening at 49. I took a hard look and I was not happy with a lot of things that were going on, Michelle. And I
Mm,
decided to be like, okay, you can't just keep taking any opportunity that somebody gives you if it's not really something you want to do. Just because someone wants to pay you for something, or if maybe you're good at it. But
mhm,
does that really matter if it's not making you happy?
absolutely.
And so I feel like I kind of lost that. Like I started kind of just putting myself on the back burner, making kind of choices that were really not in alignment with like who I really wanted to be. But turning 49 and realizing I had like a year to 50, I
Mhm,
was like, well, what do I want this next stage of my life to be about? Like
mhm,
I can have some good years here. I could make a complete change right now. And
mhm.
I kind of got inspired by that. So I kind of did a lot of soul searching and I really kind of came down to, okay, you have been an actress. You like to talk to women. You love women. I was just kind of like putting everything together.
Yeah.
What could encompass all the things I love into one little kind of package. And that is what this podcast is for me. It's kind of taking my humor, my stand-up, my acting performer, my
I could
interview.
totally see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
all the things.
I see the performer in you, like I really do. Like it comes out so naturally for you. It's just part of your essence. Like when I said you were the Energizer bunny or the Energizer meter goes like this, it's beyond that. It's just part of who you are.
Yeah,
Um, so when you talk about like soul searching, because you're speaking my love language,
I know that.
um, tell me a little bit more about that. What does that look like for you? Because I think for each person, and especially like when we're looking at our audience, right? There's so many women that are truly looking to make a change, but don't know how to step in.
Yes.
And perhaps don't have the courage that you or I have of just saying, I'm going to make a mistake. Who cares? Because we've had so many transitions and jobs. So, what does that look like for you?
Well, for Energizer Bunny type A crazy people like myself, that means actually being still and quiet, Michelle, something we are totally
Woo!
bad at.
Shocker.
Yes. So it really is about pausing. And, whether it's writing in the journal or I just started meditating a half second ago, let me
Good
say,
for you.
I just started. I've really been resistant to this meditation thing because I go, go, go. But I've realized that little, even just 5 minutes for me, it sets me up for the whole day. Suddenly I'm working out and I'm eating right and I'm organizing myself and I'm laughing at things that like normally would upset me. I'm like, all this from one 5 minute meditation? Like it just kind of does a weird kind of, I don't know. It just puts a
It
kind
helps
of,
give perspective. It's
it's
almost
the
like it gives you an
best.
overlay. It gives you, it's
Yes.
like the saran wrap on top of something, where it's like it gives a different lens. Yeah.
Yes. And it makes you feel like, oh, I gave that to myself.
It
So if
is
I
a
gave
gift.
that to myself, then I can give these other things to myself too. Like, yeah, then I'm going to take a bath too. Or I'm going to make that phone call that I was supposed to make, or whatever it is. It kind
Mhm.
of gives you the courage when you commit to that thing, it gives you the courage to commit to other things for yourself, I
Absolutely.
feel. Yeah.
No,
But
I agree with you. I mean, and I think it's really poignant that you said those words, that in order to do soul searching, that for you it meant being still and having quiet and taking the pause, because I think a lot of people think that when they are supposed to soul search, that they're supposed to do, and a lot of times it's about being, right?
yes,
And how awesome is it for you that one of the modalities that you're taking on right now is meditation? I mean, I think the thing is, there's so many misnomers about meditation and what,
yes,
yes, like, yes, it does so much for you
yes.
and your perspective. But at the same time, people think that, everything has to be still and you need to be quiet. But it doesn't have to be that way, right?
It can be any way. That's what I think people, that's what I think I didn't understand. I thought, oh my God, like, how long do I have to do this for? And do
Mhm,
I have to have somebody talking in my ear? Do I have to have a meditation app? Do I
mhm.
have to sit like in a lotus style position? Like, I just didn't understand that, like exercise, let's just say, there's a million ways to exercise. There are people that love to bike or hike or swim, and some people who like to hike hate swimming, and people who love to swim hate hiking. So, whatever way you need to meditate, if that means, and let me tell you, for me, it's just sitting quietly near my garden because I've got like artichokes growing over there and strawberries, and it
Yeah,
makes me really
beautiful.
happy. So
Mhm,
I have a really low chair and I put it over there with a little pillow and
mhm.
I just sit there with my eyes closed. I put the timer on just because I want to make sure I do 5 minutes because I love to cheat.
Mhm.
And
Love you.
and now I don't check it as much like I used to. Like my
Yeah.
whole 2 weeks I've been doing this. But yeah, now I realize like that's how I like it. Now someone else may want to have an altar, an incense, and an app and a mask and a I don't know, but that's what
Exactly.
works for me.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people actually do walking meditations. I mean, there's so many different versions of meditations, but we could do that together. I could do a meditation with you, and there's a lot of really cool. Just knowing who you are and what you're motivated by, I think that there's a lot of really cool things that I could see you enjoy. I know I'm sure you're probably kind of sensitive to people's voices, depending on
Yes.
who they are. So I've got some good ones to recommend you.
Oh, okay, good.
Mhm.
I like it.
So I do have a question for you around, when you chose to take on this podcast, right? And it's so much greater than that, we know, you know, how did you get started? Like, I mean, what did you do to be like, because then you're like, all right, I'm doing a podcast,
Yes.
obviously, you're interviewing people, but like, tell me a little bit more about that process so that we could give others courage to do the same.
I think it kind of starts with like, what's my motivating factor, right? Like I want to talk to women. Okay, what do I want to talk about? And I started thinking about, well, my gosh, what the podcast really is what these lunches that I've been having with girlfriends for years are. I
Mhm.
would have this great lunch with a girlfriend. We would go deep diving on some subject. And then I will go and tell the other girlfriend that was not there. I'd be like, oh my God, I was talking to Serena and she was saying that something about this confidence gap. Have you heard of this? And then I realized, well, I want to tell everyone about that talk,
Mhm.
And then I realized that's what it is. It's these amazing conversations that I would have that I wish I could have recorded and shared with everyone else. So my first guests were some of my friends because these were the people I was having these deep conversations with. So it
Mhm.
kind of made it feel better that I wasn't going to strangers to start. These were
Totally.
people I knew really well. And I knew what we were going to talk about because that's what we talked about. So it was more, convincing them to do it and saying, remember that talk we had? I want to have that talk again. And they were like,
Mhm.
okay. So it was that the technical side is very hard. And I am, as much as I had a social media marketing agency and I love social media, and I think I literally was one of the first people on Twitter and Clubhouse. It overwhelmed me. So I had that Becky BH marketing firm. They really handled the tech side of it. I was more, I'm a writer. So
Yeah.
I liked the writing part, right? Like what's the episode about? What does my script look
Kind of
like?
like know what you're good at a bit.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes. I kind of felt like I'm going to pick the things I know I can do and that I really want control over. And this other stuff, like how to load it into SoundCloud and iTunes, no,
Yeah,
no thanks.
exactly. It's the tedious components of it's not creative.
Right. And
Exactly.
you can kill your passion that way, by the way. That's the way to kill
Absolutely.
it. I had a girl because I'm now podcast coach too. I
Mhm.
launched this girl's podcast and she called me. She's like, I don't want to do this. I said, what are you talking about? You're amazing. But everyone kind of goes through this when they're about to launch. They're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
And so she said, I don't want to do this. I said, why? She said, well, yesterday I did 6 podcasts. I said, first of all, let's just stop right there.
exactly.
Why are you treating your podcast like you're working at a hot dog factory?
Exactly.
Like, are you trying to kill your passion? Like, let me just tell you, you are crazy. You are
Exactly.
not allowed to do 6 in one day. I don't care
Absolutely.
how busy you think you are. If you want to do 2 in one day, that is the most I'm going to allow you to do. And they got to be in the
It's an
morning and the
it's
afternoon.
energy. It's an exchange of energy, and
It's
you
too
have to be
much.
careful about what you're giving out, Yeah,
Yes. And
totally
that
agree.
I don't like watching women kill their passion because they just like think they need to do it a certain way or they have to have this certain output or it's got it, that's
Yeah,
all BS. You got to, if it's your passion,
has to
then
come
let it be. Let it
exactly.
feel good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So what would you say, like, is your motto? Do you have a motto that you live by every day? What's your creed?
Well, I have it kind of on the podcast. I say women are not born warriors, we become them.
Mm.
So I feel like that's the motto I live by. Every time something bad happens, and also, I have a theme song. You probably have heard it before. I get knocked down, but I get up again. That's my whole life. I get knocked down, but man, I pop right back up. So it makes me feel good to know that we're all like that we all get knocked down and we all have to get up and that we're all warriors, that we earn our warrior cards through all these really hard things that we have to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because I mean, really the word that comes up for me when you're describing that stuff, you're very determined and you're resilient. And I would bargain to say that possibly that's what's created some of your success through your years, right?
Oh yeah.
I could be wrong, but you could
No,
tell.
I mean, I work hard, but I don't give up. So that, kind of being a relentless person and also I try not to, as you can tell, I use humor. I'm not going to take everything so damn seriously that I kill my passion. I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm going to have humor about things and know I'm going to make a mistake. I recorded 2 episodes, one with a girl I barely knew, did not hit the record button.
Oh God, I did that.
I had to call her. I was like, hey, Ernestine Johnson Morrison, God love her. She's beautiful, beautiful actress and entrepreneur, amazing woman. I was like, hey, Ernestine, guess what? Wasn't that fun? Let's do it again. except I'll hit record.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I also did that with actually my yoga teacher training people. Like, so I had to teach
Oh,
the whole class to them, and then literally at the end, I go, "I'm so sorry, I totally forgot to hit record. Now you have
I
to do it all
mean,
over again."
oh, it's just the worst.
Hysterical.
It's the worst.
So, in your life, what would you say who has been your biggest inspiration, and what has been your biggest inspiration?
Well, I would say my biggest inspiration is other women, frankly.
Mhm.
When I see women going through really hard things, when I see them struggling and then they just keep going, like that keeps me going, but I also I really like love imperfect people. Like
Mhm.
imperfect people
I
are
do
my
too.
people.
Yeah.
Like people may think like it from Instagram, oh Liz, you're whatever, you've got your little dress on, but please. I had to hold the other day I was on my treadmill. My dog got so scared by the treadmill. I had to hold her
Oh.
while I was walking on the treadmill. I literally was like, I just wish I had a camera on myself
You're
right
like,
now
"Is
to
this
know
an
how
oxymoron?
what's that?
Is this an oxymoron?"
I know. I really was like, come on. Like just life is just bizarre and imperfect people are my people.
I love that. Well, I think one of the gifts that you have is actually allowing people to be imperfect, like, and seeing them for who they are, and shining that light on that. And I think it's a beautiful gift of yours.
Thank you. You're so amazing. I
Oh.
love it.
Yeah. And so what would you say about what inspires you besides just, I want to dig a little deeper there. Like, when we're talking about, like, yes, it's women, but is there like a specific woman, or, when we're talking about, is there one woman that you always look to and said, wow, I really want to use her as my role model? That's somebody that changed my life.
No, I think it's like a compilation, right? Like I look at Michelle Obama and I just want to weep for someone who has that much class in the face of so much racism and hatred and just that she just blows my brain. Hillary
Oh, very
Clinton,
good.
I want to wear a pantsuit every day just so I can just be her.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many women doing amazing things and have endured so many things. And I think people like that, I mean, I've the holistic psychologist on Instagram, I'm obsessed with her because she's
Yeah.
all about, digging deep and understanding all these little wounds from childhood. I think she's
Mhm.
amazing. I mean, obviously I love Oprah, who doesn't?
Yes.
I mean, really, it's really, I have so many women. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Yeah, exactly.
Glennon Doyle. I mean,
You're like, where does the list end?
where
It's
does
more like,
Abby
how
Wambach
many can
actually?
oh yeah, Abby.
Abby Wambach, that's a newer one for me because I saw them talking together and I went for Glennon, of course. Hello, I'm
Yeah,
going for Glennon.
yeah.
The minute Abby started talking, I was like, what? Who is this one? What is she
Lennon
talking about?
actually just spoke at the leadership conference for Beauty Counter, actually. It's
Oh, I love
amazing.
her.
Yeah,
I
she's
love her. She did a whole thing about leading from the bench.
mhm.
And I talk to my kids about this all the time. When they get knocked down and when things are really not good, how are you going to act towards your friends? What are you going to show them? You're going to be over there with your little bad face on and sad and pissed off that you didn't win or get the grade you wanted? Or are you going to have class about it and you're going to lead from the bench? You show what it looks like when you're sitting on the bench and you're going to lead from there. And I
Absolutely.
just thought that is a amazing lesson. Amazing.
Yeah, it is an amazing lesson. Well, because the reality is that you're not always the highlight, right? And it's what you do when you're not that actually shows your true character. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So what do you have on the horizon in the next, like, what's your goal in the next, like, year, as far as, conversations with Warrior Women goes?
I want to try to get to some of these heroes of mine because I just interviewed Amy Brenneman and Suzanne Summers.
Mhm.
I love me some Suzanne Summers all day. Let me just
Yeah,
say,
she's amazing.
I literally was like trying to like calm myself down while I was interviewing her. I was like, I love you so much.
You look like her.
Really? Oh my God, please let me look like her. She like I want to kind of have some of my heroes. Like I'd love to reach like a Tina Fey or Glennon
Mhm.
or of course that's a big ask and a big leap. But I'm gonna put it
I
out
think
there
it's
that that's
possible.
something I want. And then I'm writing a book about these conversations with warrior women because I love books like Abby Wambach's book, Wolfpack book. It's a
Yeah,
small
totally.
little book, and you can just be like, what did she say about leading for the bench? And you go back in there and look. I feel like by the same token, these conversations that I have with these warrior women, there's this gold that they give me, just tap yourself on the shoulder, leap and the net will appear. Just these great things that they tell me, these wisdom, just wisdom. And I
Totally.
thought that would be a great book just to be able to kind of like use it almost like a roadmap to
I love
being
that.
accessing your inner warrior.
Yeah. So how do you access your inner warrior? Curiously.
Well, now that's it. That's also ever changing, right? Like I feel like sometimes, some days you need to listen to Michelle Obama and hear her speak
Yeah.
and, think about RBG or read Glennon Doyle. But lately it has been this meditation. I feel like my strength is coming more through stillness
Mm,
and through
love that.
quiet and through being really conscious. Cause I feel like, once the day gets going, oh my God, the day can just own you. It's
Mhm.
just scary. You have kids, the dog, the thing, everything, right? But it's like when I take that moment in the morning and I really do that meditation and then I sit, I have a 5-minute journal from Mel Robbins, who I adore. She
I
inspires me
love Mel
actually.
Robbins. Yeah, she's
And
great.
I use her 5-minute journal and I literally map out the day and I say, what do I want to do today? And like, what is for me on this day versus all the things you have to do? So
Mhm.
I really have been much more conscious ever since COVID, really, about how I live my days and what I do. I don't just like waste time with things that are
Don't
not
matter or
fulfilling
not
me.
important. Yeah, don't
Right.
fulfill you. So,
Yes.
what would you say are your greatest motivators? Like when you look at your, values, and I don't know if you've ever worked through your values, and that's something we could do sometime together. I'd really love
That
to do
sounds fun. I like this. No,
it.
I've never done that. I don't even know what
Like
you're
a
talking about.
proposed card game. We should do it with our group actually.
Oh, yes. Can we do that?
Yeah, it would be really fun. And so anyways, what would you say like are the top 5 values of yours that you use every day?
Now, by values, I'm just going to guess because I don't even know what you're really talking about, but I would say freedom is like one of my
Mm,
biggest.
which is why COVID was hard for you. Yeah.
Right. That's why I could never be in an office. I've never, even when I had a company, they knew that I was going to be there like an hour here, an hour there, and I was just everywhere. Um, I think that's one of my biggest ones is freedom, and then connection.
Mm,
Connection is, I think, even just now, my husband came home and we made lunch, and we just like took 30 minutes to really just be like, "What happened to you?" And what? Oh, that's interesting. Like, and just even that 30 minutes, because like the day just goes. And
mhm.
even at the end of the day, there's homework and there's dinner to make and dogs to
Never
feed.
ends.
It never ends. And
Yeah.
just even that 30 minutes, that was so nice to just kind of check in with him and see what he's doing and tell him what I'm doing. And it's just, I really just appreciate any moments of connection like this one, Michelle.
Yeah, me too. I feel the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Connection's one of my greatest values as well. And which is likely why we connected with one another. So connection,
Yes.
so values are where we make choice from. Values are what provide us fulfillment. And so I think it's interesting to hear just 2 of your values. And at some point we should definitely go through it because I think you would find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure adventure is in there somewhere.
Oh yeah. I'm sure fun is too, by the
Oh
way.
yeah.
I mean,
Fun is high on the list.
exact humor,
Yes.
I think it's, yeah, there's some that, when you're coaching somebody, you could usually pull them from just by listening, by
Yeah.
actively listening.
Yeah.
But so when you look at your like warrior circle, what is the group called that you run?
The Warrior Moms.
Yeah, the Warrior Moms. How did
Yeah.
that come about? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I was a mom blogger
Mhm.
I was one of the first mom bloggers, if
Were
you could
you like
even.
with Mom Angelus and
Oh yeah.
all of those
Oh
gals?
yeah. Like
SoCal
I'm
Moms?
a long time, like
Yeah.
2006, I was
Mhm.
doing this mom blog thing. And I did it because my son was born. My son almost died at birth. He had a stroke. You just said hi to my son. So that boy was supposed to have his arm amputated. He was supposed to be brain damaged and dead.
Oh,
And
wow.
you just saw hi to my almost 5'11" son, who's none
Sweet
of those
handsome
things.
boy. Man,
Yes,
almost.
yes, man,
Man
boy.
boy.
Yes, turning 15. But I started it because I just felt like I had gone to hell. I had to spend 52 days in the hospital. I felt so isolated. I was like, is anybody else having, like, it just seemed like people just had babies and went home, had
Yes.
babies, home. And I had already been through infertility. So I thought my problems were over.
Mm.
Funny. And then I had
It was
that
just
happen.
beginning.
Yeah. And then I had that happen, and his arm was like, he was born with a different kind of arm. And, it just was really a lot. And I needed connection, but I also needed to really focus on him. So I started this
Mhm.
blog. And from there, I decided, like, years, I was like, I want to reach more women and have, like, more of a community. So I started the Warrior Moms because I wanted to not only have more of a community, but I also wanted to highlight moms who
Mhm.
were doing great things, had great ideas. It was sort of like the early beginnings of this podcast. It's
So
definitely
interesting.
an evolution of that.
Oh, that's fascinating. So is it a smaller version of a community to the larger warrior conversations with warrior women? Because that's
Yes.
like, yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah,
Would
it's
you
it's basically the mom community inside this bigger just warrior women
mm,
umbrella.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I love that you have so many multiple areas of people supporting you.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
that the warrior moms have been going on. I mean, you'll see sometimes I'll put up a post of, like, Landon when he was a baby, and people will say, I have been here since the beginning. I've known you from day one. And I'm like, yes, you have. Yes, you have. It's really, it's awesome. It
Yeah.
really is.
Well, I've seen the evolution and just even in the last 6 months, and it's amazing. I mean, you're exploding. So I loved seeing it. I love seeing the growth. It's amazing. It's awesome. So because you're a stand-up comedian,
Retired,
retired,
recovering,
but yet it's
recovering.
so prevalent to who you are. So I'd love to know that if today was your funeral,
Oh my Lord.
just, or let's say it's like some important event, and you had 30 seconds to tell your audience, leave them with these words of wisdom and pearls that you have, what would you say to them?
I would say, don't water dead plants.
Mm,
That to me is been the big one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned, is that I've had, and women were interesting this way, right? We go through these evolutions of friendships. And sometimes you have friends, like, that are because your kids in preschool together, and sometimes you have a friend because you got married, like, and they came to your wedding, or they're your college friend. So we outgrow these friendships sometimes, and sometimes they become really toxic or painful, or just, like, I don't know, just not good.
yeah.
And I've seen a lot of women, and I've done it, just pouring water into that dead plant that is just not going to come back. It is not doing anything for you. It is not happy to be there. And you have to be brave enough to let some of that go. And the letting go of that brings other women to you who
Mhm.
are more like-minded, who do adore you and love you and want to be there for everything. And that has been what I have found. I mean, I really feel like the older I've gotten, even some of these new friends I've made less than a year ago, I am
Mhm.
closer to some of these women than I am to women that I've known for years and years. And I think that's because we all feel this collective, like, yes, I understand what you're doing, you get what I'm doing, we connect, we understand, all, like you and I, we
Yes,
just met,
totally.
have a great connection. I think that's when you're willing to not water the dead plants, Michelle, then
Exactly.
you can receive the beauty and the bounty of
Yes.
great female friendship.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I always like to say, if you're going to go together, you have to grow together. And yeah, and I feel that many women stay in relationships just because of time
Yes.
instead of connection, like you're saying.
Yes.
And I think it's so important that we continue growing. Clearly, why you and I chose to do. We always take on something to learn, basically.
Yes.
And so I agree with you on that one, and I think that's very great pearls of wisdom. So I have another question for you because I love to ask questions.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Um, what would you say to like a woman that is out there that's looking to start a podcast, right? Because this is all about opportunities, and clearly we've shed light on a lot of different ways that they can take charge and move in. But what would you look to tell a woman that doesn't have the confidence that we have? So I think just like you were saying, that friends look at you and go like, I want you to do a podcast, because they see those things in you. How do you tap into that inner confidence? And how would you tell a woman that may not look perceivingly like they can't, I never think nobody can not do it, but like that they don't
They
feel
think
like
they
they
can.
have the tools. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to remember that you were anointed.
Hmm.
That just because I have a girlfriend, Miriam, she has a little cooking Instagram called Dish Play It. Go
Hmm.
follow Miriam. She's very sweet. She's from Ecuador,
Uh-huh.
and she's a mom of a special needs kid,
Mhm.
and she is fantastic. And you don't, I don't want to have a cooking Instagram.
Mm-mm.
I don't want to share my recipes with you. That is something that God has put in her. That is her passion. That is something she feels that she wants to share with the world. So she must do that.
Purpose.
And she must go forward with this and grow this to where she needs to go. And I think you have to really think about this. God doesn't put things in your mind and heart that are not for you.
Hmm.
So if you really want to do something, it's because God put it there. So who are you to sit over here and say, no, not going to do it? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but you are just not, that's not okay. You have to understand that's coming from somewhere. That's coming from the divine. So you have to
Mhm.
respect that where that's coming from, and you have to act on it even before you're ready. I wasn't ready to start a podcast. I didn't know what I was doing. I did it
Yeah.
anyway.
Hmm.
Just do it. That's
Yeah.
what you're
I think it's a beautiful statement, and what I love about interviews like this, right, is that every person comes forward with some sort of amazing wisdom, and your whole point about the divine anointing you is so true. And each person has a gift, and it's whether or not and if the divine is actually anointing you, for you to deny yourself of that gift is a loss for people, right?
absolutely. The world will not have it. And
Mhm.
who are you to deprive the world of what you have? That's not okay. Yeah, I mean, think of all the people. Walt Disney could have said, nah, I don't think it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, how sad would we be? You think about all Kamala could have
Mhm.
said, no, I'm just not going to run I'm not going to run for VP. I mean,
I can't do it.
God can thank God, right?
Exactly. Thank God.
Yes.
Yeah,
And many days I'm sure she said, I'm crazy. I should not do this. And she did it. And she was anointed and she should be doing it. And there she is.
absolutely. So here's my question for you. If you didn't do a podcast, what would it be? What would be the other path that you would take?
I mean, I think I would just speak to women. I don't know what
Mhm.
that even looks like. I think I would just, anything that I can do to empower, connect. I think I would probably just do live storytelling, right? Like I would be like, let's hear these women's stories live
Mhm.
and learn from these people. And I would just like host evenings of storytelling, hearing from women. I would almost do like live podcasting, basically,
That'd
live
be
interviews.
that's actually, by the way, an interesting concept.
Yes, it
Just so
is.
that you know, I think we just started a new business.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I've talked about that many times is that I'm really, especially my gosh, with COVID and everything, and everybody's been Zooming. And you know what? Thank God for Zoom. I wouldn't meet half the women that I've met. Thank God for Zoom. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely ready to be in a room with some women and hug some people. I
Mm.
am ready.
I totally agree with you. It's like when I get a hug most recently, because I've been vaccinated like you,
Yes.
um, you know, it's just so magical to feel the touch like of
Yes.
somebody, and how much we
Yes.
miss that, right?
Yes.
So we're coming to a close, because I could talk to you forever, because you're so fascinating, and there's so many interesting things that my mind's just going like this. I know I have so many more things I want to talk to you about. But if there were any words of wisdom that you could leave women with, what would it be today?
I would say call your own name. That's what I would say. I think a lot of like times as women, we're like waiting for someone to be like, you should do this or you should do this. And let me just say, I was on Romper Room as a 6-year-old person, and I did, they look in the mirror and they say, oh, I see Michelle and I
Yeah.
see Cindy. Well, she did not say my name. And so I went up and I took that mirror and I said my name. I called my own name. And
Mhm.
I think about that
I love
to
that
this
rumble.
day, to this day. And I think, Liz, call your own name, damn it. Like,
Mhm.
don't wait for someone else to tell you to do something. If you want to do it, call your own name. So I'm just going to tell you, grab that mirror and call your own name.
I love that. That's such great wisdom. That's amazing.
It gets me emotional thinking about it because I want women to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the reason why both of us chose to do what we do. And because we see the gifts in them, but it's them looking in the mirror and seeing, their gifts as well. So that's why
Yes.
we do. Why we're here today is because you are
Yes.
so inspiring and you are a gift to the world. So I'm grateful that we had time today to do that. Thank you for your time. I'm so
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And you're literally the best. You're one of the best hosts. And I can say that as a host, you are one of the best podcast hosts, best podcasts I've ever done. Really.
really. Oh wow. Thank
Yes. You're
you.
really, really good. You're really good at like kind of you've got great questions. You're very good.
Oh, I love you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate being seen.
Yes.
So, what I'd love for you to do is actually please share with the audience where they can find you and where they could attend events that you might be having. And obviously, there's Instagram and your website and all that too.
Yes, yes. You can sign up for my little e-blast at thewarriormoms.co, not .com, because that's so yesterday, Michelle. So it's .co, thewarriormoms.co. Then you can find me on The Warrior Moms Instagram or Warrior Women Pod Instagram.
I love
And of
it.
course, my podcast, where you can find any podcasts,
You must find her, please, on Apple TV, Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify. And is it on anything else?
Google Play. It's on all the things.
Okay, got it. Every platform available.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for your time, and I look forward to more fun.
Yes, me too.
Join us on Opportunity Knocks for more people to come.